If music production were easy, we'd all be touring the world, making massive hits, and making a living doing what we love. It wouldn't take years to get good. You could just start right away, make killer tracks, and be living the life. Meta My Music probably wouldn't exist. But if you've ever joined my Facebook group, Music Production Mastery, and if you haven't joined us yet, you can find the link to join in the description below, you will have come across the following question. What are you struggling with most right now? Well, over the years, I've collected these responses, and that group has just passed 5,000 members. Now, not everybody replied to that question who joined the group, but I have between 35 and 3,600 answers to that question. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the biggest insights that I've learned through analyzing all of these responses. Hey yo, it's Alex from Meta My Music, and with this channel, it's always my mission to help you, the artist, produce themselves by developing their mindset, expanding their creativity, and connecting to their music in a deeper way. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the big takeaways that I have learned from asking over 5,000 producers what their biggest struggle is right now with their music. So within the group, we have a very diverse range of producers ranging from complete beginners to people who have been at it for 4 or 5 years to people with over 10 to 20 years experience producing music. With that variety, there is also a variety of problems that musicians, artists, and producers are facing. So let's take a look. I've had conversations with a lot of music producers and helped them unpack some of the pain points that they're experiencing when it comes to producing. I get a ton of DMs and emails asking about specific advice on EQ, on compression, on mixing, song arrangement, etc. So a lot of the content I create and the videos I make are to help solve those problems. But why do we face so many creative and technical obstacles when it comes to producing music? Well, it's because music production is not easy. There is a lot to learn in music production. There's a ton of skills to develop, a lot of techniques and concepts to learn, and trying to bring it all together in a way that you can actually finish music with a unique sound. There's a lot to cover. So instead of looking how to solve one particular problem, I kind of want to zoom out and look at the general trend that we can see when we look and analyze at all of these problems that people are sharing. And the goal is we're going to find ways to overcome these problems. That's the whole purpose behind this. So let's dive in to the data. So the way I collected this data is when people join my Facebook group, Music Production Mastery, I ask a question that says, what are you struggling with most right now with your music? And then I collected the responses in a Google Sheet. I then combed through all of these answers and created general categories to place these various problems that people were sharing into. And although there was a lot of variety in how somebody articulated the problem, I decided to condense it into bigger categories so we could look at bigger trends overall. All right, so here's a little glimpse of this Google Sheet. And as you can see, if I scroll down here, we have a lot of entries. We've passed 5,000, and I've collected all of these answers: how to set up an organized practice routine, where do I start, motivation, how do I gain more experience. So I took all of these answers and condensed them into big categories. So after combing through all of that data, here are the general categories that I came up with. There's where to start, mixing and mastering, everything, just everything in general, finishing music, arrangement and composition, marketing and promotion, music theory, learning the DAW, melody writing, sound design, finding good education, time, inspiration, improving quality, finding my sound. And then there was quite a few other responses that I would categorize as other that didn't really fit inside those, but those are the big ones. Another question I asked new group members when they joined is how many years of experience do they have with music production? So the biggest part of the group, which is about 35%, has from 0 to 1 year of experience in music production. So I would call these people more so beginners, just getting started. And the second biggest section of the group, which is about 30% of the people or so, have 4 years or more experience making music. And then the rest of the people are either in between 1 year and 4 years, or some outlier amount of years with a lot of experience. How many years have you been producing music? I'd love to hear in the comments down below. So what does this actually mean? What this tells us is that a lot of people who start music production actually quit before a year is up. They realize that it's actually difficult, and then they lose motivation. The first big trend that I've noticed is that it's the people who love making music for its own sake that stick around for the long run. And it's the people who stick around for the long run who start to see results and success and hit their dreams. And the people who are just in it for fame or a sense of legitimacy will not last in the long run. So why are people quitting? Well, if we think back to those categories that I've made, they were actually in order of the most common responses. So the number one category was I don't know where to start, or some variation of that, where to get started. And again, this wasn't a multiple choice question. This came directly from the mouths of people expressing what they're having trouble with. And this is likely because when someone's getting started and they start looking for learning materials and sources of experience and information, they get bombarded with a fire hose of information in every direction that you can imagine, and they get overwhelmed. Because if you're brand new to music production and then you start searching for how to produce music online, you're going to get destroyed by swaths of information. So the third biggest category of problems was everything. So having difficulties with absolutely everything in music production. And this is very similar to the first problem of not knowing where to start, but it might be a little bit farther down the line when you now have a better idea of the scope of skills and techniques and knowledge that you now have to develop in order to produce your own music. This sums up to mean that most new producers are just lost and overwhelmed. This also perfectly demonstrates that most problems that musicians and producers face are mental rather than technical. Not knowing where to start, discovering a unique sound, finishing tracks, not knowing what to focus on next are all mindset shifts rather than techniques that need to be learned. And don't get me wrong, learning how to craft a killer chord progression or learning how to use an EQ are both very important, but those don't solve the higher issues. Mindset shifts do. And this is exactly why I created my masterclass, How to Master the 3 Secrets of the Creative Process for both new and experienced musicians and producers, so you can have a structured approach as to what to focus on next for you specifically so that you can create and finish more music. If you're interested in checking that out, it's completely free. You can check it out in the description below. Next, let's circle back to number 2. So if we think about those categories, number 1 was I don't know where to start. Number 3 was everything. Number 2 was mixing and mastering. Now, this might be because mixing and mastering are both technically involved, or it might be because most people think that the mix is what separates their tracks from the tracks of other people that inspire them. Often people think it's the mix that makes their music sound good. Now, mixing and mastering are both very important stages of the process, and you'll learn a lot more about both of those in the free masterclass, but they are both also way overemphasized. Most people who come to me for feedback or advice on a track they're working on are asking about the mix. But I'll tell you this, 99% of the time, it's not the mix. It's the arrangement, and it's the combination of all the other stages that come before the mixing stage. So why do they think that the mix down is the problem? This is because as a modern music producers, the lines between the stages of the process and the roles we play within them get blurred. Often we create ideas, we arrange our songs, and we mix at the same time, all while trying to be the artist, the producer, and the engineer. In truth, it might be that your synth preset just doesn't fit your track, or that your chord voicings and your note selection are all over the place and don't work with each other. It might be that the layers you've chosen don't complement and work with each other and will just create mud that you're going to try and fix in the mix. Maybe it's something simple like your melody is out of key. All that to say is that any problems within the parts themselves, the hooks, your song arrangement, the editing phase, your layers, your sound selection, aren't good to start with. It doesn't matter how hard you try in the mix. It's not going to sound good. That being said, mixing and mastering are both very steep learning curves. And if you're just getting started in learning those things, I would suggest that you master the fundamentals. So if you're interested in learning more about the fundamentals of mixing, check out this video over here where I go through the whole process in detail. This is also why many artists and producers simply outsource those skill sets to mixing engineers and mastering engineers. And these are just the top most common problems that I found by going through these responses, but there's a ton of other things that also came up, such as finishing music, arrangement and composition, sound design, marketing and promo, learning your DAW, melody writing. All of these different things are also problems that have come up. With that said, I'm actually planning my content for lots of the next year right now. So I'd love to hear from you. What would you like to see on this channel that would help you solve some of these common problems? What are you struggling with right now with your music? What would make it that much easier so that you can make 2023 the best musical year of your life? Speaking of making 2023 the best year of your life, check out this video where we go deep into making a plan so that you can actually stay consistent and see the results that you want in next year. So if you want to check that out, click over here. If you got value out of this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to stay in tune for the next Metamind music transmission, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And again, let me know, what would you like to see on this channel that would help you solve the problem that you're facing with your music production? What kind of goals do you want to hit next year with your music? I'd love to know in the comments down below. And until the next video, I will see you in the next one.